Hey guys, it's Cowboy here. How you doing? I figured instead of writing a review more on this, I'd try to do a little bit of video. First thing is probably I can tell you that the sound quality is not going to be outstanding, but at least if I start playing with the controls and hopefully the way I can record it, you'll get a chance to at least see what it does and does not do. Right now, I pretty much got it set up for 1 watt. And we'll play around with that a bit, and then we'll turn around and take a look at it and see what happens when we stick it into 15 watts. And excuse me, I'm trying to fight off a cold, and even though I think it's like 77 out down here and I'm loving the weather, it didn't prevent me from getting a cold. But anyway, let's give it a shot and let's see what happens. So we'll go from there. I thought we'd do is just physically take a look at the amp a bit. Obviously, this is the front. Grill call-off is, fairly decent, what you'd expect. The cream coating, I really like the color of. I'm not sure it's as heavy-duty as it could be, but it looks like it's going to hold up and take enough dings. Now, if I can do this slowly without making too much of a mistake, let's go in, we'll take a look at the handle here a bit. And this actually seems to be reasonably decent. It's got a ridge here. This one was a little bit put in a little bit off center, but it does work reasonably well. And as you can see, if I slide around here a bit, and I'm not so sure how this is going to read, if I block out a light, a little bit of light will be okay. But obviously I have it in the, over here I have it in the 1 watt and the 15 watts upside down reading, but you'll get it figured out. And then I've pretty much set gain, treble, mid, bass, volume. The tone, which is kind of interesting, it talks about that, set them at 5, and I actually had to turn the reverb down that low because otherwise it just gets too wild and crazy. But we'll take a look at that a little bit later. And then we have the off-on switch. So we'll go from there with that. No standby, but that's okay. Now, if we move to the back here a little bit, let's see if I can do this without killing everything. We have your external speaker, your effect send and return. Then we have a foot switch, which only activates the reverb. And here's the permanent cord, which is okay. But down at the back here, it's got this light metal grill, which prevents me from storing the cord in the back. And if you can just peek at the top on left to right, you'll see 2 EL84s and then 3, I would assume 12 AX7s, and that is a Celestion 7080 speaker. But again, the whole back is all screwed in pretty decent, so, I mean, seriously, what do you expect for a couple $100? So, but everything right now is set at 5, which is what their recommended beginning point is, except for the reverb. I can't have it up that high, and I'm trying to keep my reflection out of the video. But anyway, give me a second and we'll set this back up, and then we'll start playing with some tones. So that takes care of that. To tell you what I'm using to record with. This is my old telly, made by a guy in Maine, rosewood neck on it, pretty much Seymour Duncan broadcaster in the bridge. I'm not exactly sure what's up front, and it's pretty well used and abused and stuff, but it's kind of been my standby, and it just happened to be the one I had out, so we'll use that to start with, and we'll go from there. Do here. First of all, I have the recorder up behind the amp. I'm sure I'm going to get enough volume and stuff out of the back, so it should be okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play middle position on the telly. This is up full on 1 watt. Hopefully this doesn't overload the mic too much. And like I said, everything is at 5, especially if you take a look here at volume. Now, this is the reverb. This is, I think, what the issue is, the reverb. If I just plunk it a little bit, let's watch what happens. reverb now just below 2. This would probably be a usable gig stage for me, but you get it much beyond this and to me it becomes unusable, and then you're going to have difficulty if I want to add any other effects. So right now I'm just going to leave it there. The tone, if we move on, the tone is what I kind of refer to as a presence control, and that right now is on 5. So you give me a second here. Sorry for the interruption, but I got people coming in and out of the rec hall here, so I got to tone it down a little bit. Let's go to the tone. You can see that probably the greatest change is from 2 and below and above 6, but still kind of like a presence in a way. You can read the manual on this if you want to get a little bit more info. Okay, let's go to everybody's favorite, the volume. Again, I'm in the 1 watt setting right now, so this is at 5. I'm going to play just a normal, I'm going to play open, just some open strings so we get an idea here. Below 2 it starts to cut out. I can tell you that up above 5, it keeps pushing the volume up pretty well. The gain over here is I've left alone, so I probably should jump to the gain a little bit. Let's turn the gain back to like 2. And you notice it cleans up in the volume. Got a nice little overload there, but still with quite a bit of volume. If you want to get clean, you probably got to get back into the 5 area. Realize that everything on my guitar is up full, so I haven't played that section, but let's try 7 here. So that's pretty usable, but again, it interfaces over here with the gain. So let's move the gain up to 4. I'm going to leave the volume on 5. Let's play the gain a bit. You can see that's where it kicks in, and the volume stays up a bit. So I'm going to turn the volume back. That's probably a decent volume level playing in the house. In the RV, I can tell you I got to be more down here. But I can take the gain up here a bit, maybe touch it. It does seem to have a little bit of tone difference, which would be kind of expected if you're playing around with the gain controls. But I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to pull the gain back to here and pull the volume back to 5. And I get just a little bit of overload. So we'll stop right there, and then we'll move on to the bass, middle, and treble in a few minutes.
Can you tell me?
Okay, back again here. So let's just go through it. I'm going to use an E string to play with the bass. So let's start with an E. Again, tone, volume and gain are pretty much there. So I'm on a middle pickup on a telly. So this is the bass. So decent range on that. Let's try middle, same thing, but we'll use an A string here. Then we'll probably try an A chord. Not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
Okay, and last of all, but least of all, let's try a little bit of treble action here. I'll try and use the GB strings to get this in. Seems to be some pretty subtle changes in there. So we've kind of played basically everything around in the 1 watt setting. So from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to try to move on, take a break here for a second, and then just quickly give you some idea of what's going on in 15 watts. We'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, let's do a quick look at. I left everything pretty much flat except for the reverb. But let's take a little bit at the difference between the 1 watt and the 15. So what I'll do is just play a little bit of tab benoit to give you some idea. I'm not going to change anything except for the input. Obviously I got to stop to do that, but let's try this. Okay, that's 1 watt. Now, let's see what happens 15 else. I can tell you there's going to be a nice little volume jump. Let's try this. There's quite a bit of difference in volume, obviously. 15 watt would be pretty much giggable, probably, if I played around a little bit with the volume and the gain. And again, I got the telly in everything straight up. If I back it off, especially if I back the tone off a bit, give me a little bit more gain. So this would be more like what I'd probably like at a 15. So that's pretty much what I've got right now. So we'll leave it at that, and then I'll give you some overall impressions in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about a couple of quick impressions here. First of all, the speaker, I'm not sure that I'm super keen on that or not. But again, probably will let it break in and play it for a while and see what happens. But come on, you're talking $200 amp. Give me a break. Reverb tank is especially a complete pain. I'm going to check about switching it out with a mod tank, which I've used before, which are relatively inexpensive, but I thought it was a great upgrade from the one I had in my Tech 21 TM30. So I'll look at that, and if I can get what I want, I would probably talking maybe 20 bucks. So the Reverb, but overall, the 1 watt with the gain and volume I find good enough so that I can adjust it, so I can actually be a great bedroom amp, because you can get a little bit of gain or a lot of gain and get some sweet little sustain and keep the volume low, 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 which is a big thing even in my household, believe me. The only time I ever play any amp up at all is when the missus is out of the house. But so I'd take a look at that first. 15 watts, probably giggable in a small venue, not the same 15, 18 watts that's in the NACE. NACE definitely has a little more presence, a little more output. String clarity is there. Tonally, it's a better amp. I mean, but come on, who's kidding? Who? Difference between a $1,500, $1,700 amp and a $200 amp. But this is more than usable. It's light enough, small enough, so you can throw it in the back seat of your car and you don't have a ton in it. But right now, I'm really thinking this is going to be pretty sweet, because I can store it anywhere easily and use it. And so far, it's pretty impressive, the overall sounds. I didn't play around with, I was trying to get a general overview of the sound, so I didn't play it a lot to where I would set some of the tone. And I'm quite sure that on the recording, you're going to get a little bit more high-end presence than what I'm actually hearing here through the speaker. But that would be the lack of a quality recording device. But again, I didn't do this to be any expertise or anything like that. I just get to give you a chance to see it and hear a little bit of it and go from there. So I do have another surprise. Hang on a second. I'm sure that you can see this, but this is going to be my next little play project. I've got to do the wiring, hook the wiring up. I bought the board because it'll hold 6 pedals, and it's got some nice little things here. It's a Moore board actually, and I couldn't use my exotic pedals because the way the input-output fits doesn't match these, and they're just a little bit too tall, a little bit too big, so I ended up going with, as you can see, some of the Moore and some of the Donner pedals. What I've played with around, what I've already played with for the pedals in this, they're kind of neat, they're really neat, and you can, if I went with all Donner, you can probably almost think, well, they don't make the wah pedal, but you know, it's like 25 or 30 bucks for each pedal, and you can buy a Donner pedal board they'll do 5 of these and give you a really sweet little rig. This is, I have to admit, this is just a hair too big to fit in the cabinet, in the back of the cabinet. But I have to take the screen off anyway, but this is what I hope to give you a review on sometime in the next few weeks, I hope. So, anyway, going back to the amp, if you want an entry-level, relatively inexpensive amp that really sounds pretty good, you're going to be hard-pressed to get something new for $200. I mean, so anyway, catch you down the road. Hope to see you at some jams. And for my good friend Steve, I'm sorry, Steve, but I did not wear my red sneakers today. But just for you, bud, next time I see you, I'll have on my one and only red sneakers. Be safe. Later.